Coming up, a waste-to-energy expert reveals Australia is more than 20 years behind Europe in waste management practices. And what exactly is a waste-to-energy plant, and what are its impacts on the environment? It's Saturday, August 8, 2020, and I'm Alan Roebuck. Welcome to Ipswich Today, which acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land on which it is produced and pays respects to elders past, present and emerging. This podcast is supported by Kinetics, people-powered web hosting trusted by Australian businesses since 1999. Ipswich continues to be in the media spotlight for its waste landfills and the number of proposals for new waste management facilities, mainly in former coal mining areas. One high-profile example is a waste-to-energy plant which will convert non-recyclable waste into about 50 megawatts of baseload power. The proposed site is approximately 10 kilometres from Ipswich CBD at Swanbank. An EIS is being prepared and the proposal was declared a coordinated project by the state government on June 29, 2020. Associate Professor Prasad Kaparaju from Griffith University has more than 20 years' experience in environmental engineering and waste management, which includes waste-to-energy. I spoke with him earlier today. Thank you for joining Ipswich Today, Prasad.
Thank you, Alan.
Before I get to the Ipswich proposal, can you explain what a waste-to-energy plant is and why they are part of waste management globally?
Waste management, I think I had to go a little bit backwards. So now, waste management is an integrated part of our society, right? We generate a lot of waste. For instance, in Australia, we generate annually maybe 60 million tons of waste. Now, this waste has to be somehow recycled, reused, or repurposed in a waste hierarchy manner. So normally, our recycling in Australia is not that efficient, right? The waste that we are producing, maybe only 60% of that waste is actually recycled. And the remaining is actually ending up in landfills. Now, compared to the Australian waste management, Europe has developed, or Europe, US, and Japan. They have one of the best waste management strategies and also technologies. So in Europe, they don't have. They have the legislation, that EU landfill legislation. What does it mean that you don't send the waste to landfill? The waste that is going to the landfill will be your last option. Right, so the material that cannot be reused, recycled, or repurposed will then go to the landfill for the disposal. 80% is actually recycled, 15% is actually repurposed, and then only 2 to 5% is actually sent to the landfill. Okay, I correct that.
That would be vastly different to Australia then, Prasad. What are our numbers in Australia?
Australia, we are only recycling about 40%, and then 60% is going to landfills.
Vastly different. Well, yeah. The plant being proposed for Ipswich, I take, is very similar to the ones that are built in Europe. Some of them in the centre of major cities, and they come with glowing safety endorsements by the companies that operate them. And I think there are about 400 in 23 European countries, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Was there a level of community opposition to the plants in Europe?
I think I would say that in the beginning, right? So before the technology actually advanced, everyone in Europe or anywhere in Japan or China, everywhere, they used to have this kind of what you call not in my backyard, NIMBY attitude. Means that you can have a waste-to-energy plant somewhere far, but not in my backyard. So that's like a local attitude. But with the advancement in the technology and then bringing awareness and involving the locals and educating them or disseminating the knowledge, so the local community started to accept waste to energy policies, because it is not that it's more hazardous to have the waste not managed rather than to have a waste to energy facility. Nowadays, the waste-to-energy technologies are much more efficient. You don't get any more emissions like dioxins, which are considered as carcinogenic. So they are actually taking care. I mean, like you should have it. It's not like this waste to energy plant. It's not like a namesake. They should not have it and then not take care of the emissions, right? So you have to take care of all those emissions, treat them in downstream process, so that you can eliminate all this important greenhouse gas emissions, plus also the potential carcinogenic like dioxins. Now, if you compare this with the landfill, so if you are not doing any waste management practices and you send the waste to landfill, then you will release a lot of greenhouse gases, right? And now the greenhouse gases, for example, in Australia, we don't actually capture the landfill gas, which is basically methane and carbon dioxide. We are not able to utilize it. We are just flaring it. So we have a rule that the methane is 28 times more powerful greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. So if you are releasing methane into the atmosphere, that's more dangerous to the global warming because it has more global warming potential than carbon dioxide. So you need to flare it before you release it to the atmosphere.
Getting rid of waste around the home in Australia decades ago was an old 44-gallon drum in the backyard. Now, can this proposed plant be called an incinerator? Because the image we conjure up when we hear the word incinerator is that old backyard smoky thing.
Yeah, that's what in 90s and 30s, we do have that kind of stigma associated with these incinerators, right? Everyone used to think that burning waste is like more or less, having a household barbecue or something. But now I think we have advanced this technology that we are able to contain, all these emissions and also treat them. So that's the downstream. So you must ensure that it's not just burning all the trash in the open incinerators, but also, and it's a thermal process. Okay, it's a thermal process where you are gasifying and producing these gases that can be used to burn and then generate heat, and then using this heat to produce steam, and then turn the steam turbines and generate electricity.
Another word that's bandied about by opponents of a waste-to-energy plant is the word toxic. It's a very emotive word, very strong word. Can danger be ruled out 100%? And what's actually emitted from a waste-to-energy plant?
I wouldn't say that, it's like almost like if you think that you have a nuclear power plant, how safe we are. I mean, we can't watch at anything. Anything can happen, but the plant management should ensure that it is safe, right? You're not emitting any carcinogenic compounds, like especially the dioxin, those things into the environment without any pre-treatment. So we are basically using this as a kind of a recurring energy, right? But not that you should not even break down the hierarchy of the waste management. That is that you don't grab the materials that can be recyclable or repurposable. So that's the competition in the future would be that now we already have a recycling industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then this recycling industry should not be affected because of the waste-to-energy industry coming into the picture. Now, waste-to-energy will be very greedy because they have to design their technology or processes, and for the future, they have to assure that there's a guaranteed supply of the raw material that is waste. And that is the lucrative thing. The more the waste they get, the more money they can make. But if you are having several now, I think in Australia we are planning a proposal for like 30 waste energy plants, right? 3 have been already granted the permission. One in Western Australia, and I think one in New South Wales, and one in Victoria. I think at least these 3 are on the way, and then now Queensland also got. So they will actually grab the waste Yeah, we have fought hard to get the public support for recycling, and then I want that government ensures that recycling is still maintained as a policy priority. So that's they should not. Otherwise, the future is like we are looking at a circular economy. I think you must have heard this circular economy.
Yes, indeed, yes.
Yeah, so that means that waste is reused again and again, not a linear economy where you just produce something, use it, and then dispose it, and mostly it's ending up in landfill. But if it is a circular economy, we want to keep up. So, like what Europe have, 80% of the material is actually recycled, right? The one that is not able to recycle, they will just send it to the landfill.
Prasad, how many years behind Europe are we in terms of changing that equation?
Oh my God, we are like 25 to 30 years behind. The best country for this is Netherlands, right? Now, Netherlands, they also started just like us. There's nothing different like what we are now. Okay, so in the early 90s, Netherlands had its own waste crisis. So basically, they had rubbish in front of them, and then there were no new landfills to take care of that. So then the Dutch government started to think of, we need to have a kind of a new policy. So then they had decided that, okay, we need to have a proper waste management because they have limited land. Okay, I think Netherlands is a small country,
yes,
with 20 million people. So it's a small country. Land is so valuable that they don't want to end up everything like a landfill. So you have to see how the policies will come. So they first started to come from back end, like landfill tax. That means that if you want to send your waste to a landfill, you must pay, let's say, 200 euros per ton of waste. Now, what happens then? When you have that kind of policy, then people will start to think that, okay, how we can actually avoid producing waste that will be ending up in the landfill. Okay, then they got hold of the second one is to reduce the number of landfills, and then now you have to really tightening up. Okay, so in Europe you don't have any a number of landfills has to be reduced by 90%. Okay, so that means that you maybe in the country they will have one or two major landfills. That's it.
So this is the Netherlands. They reduced their landfills by 90%.
Whole Europe, I'm talking about whole
right.
Europe. And
okay.
So, the EU landfill directive is that strong that you have to reduce your waste going to the landfill and also reduce the number of landfills per country. So then it actually gave birth to the proper attractive recycling policy with economic incentives. So the tax for the landfill was introduced, and then after that, then they started to say that the organic waste has to be completely reused, right? So then they started to do the separation. So now they started to educate the locals or residents to separate their waste at home. So the organic waste, the food waste or garden waste, everything will be separated into one bin. And then you won't believe, you will never even dream in Australia, but there will be 7 bins in total to separate your waste.
7 bins?
Yeah.
I think some of us have trouble with 2.
Yeah, that's what 2 itself is crazy for us. So 7 bins means that you at home you have your 2 bins, major bins. So one is for the bio waste. The other one is something that you can't recycling, like a wrapper around the chocolate or something. So then you have within 500 meters from your home, okay? So they will have a kind of for each suburb, right? They should have at least, I don't know, because you hear our suburbs are so big, but because I was living in Finland and Denmark, so we can only walk maximum 300 meters from your home to dispose this remaining 5 waste. So that is the glass, paper, and then cardboard, metal. Then you have the other one, incentives for returning those, your beer cans and the wine bottles.
Yeah, the glass and tins, aluminium tins, yes.
Yeah, so that is a part of our culture. So So every Friday, it's a family tradition. I think not just in our family, but every family in Finland or Denmark. We go Friday evening, take our kids with them. So they will pick up all their things that we have, like, like the tin cans and the glass bottles. They will bring it to the shopping center, and then we let them to recycle there. And then whatever the money they get, that is their candy money.
Well, we've kind of started that with our 10-cent refund. I guess we're at the very beginning of that phase.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. Because what is happening is that we have this landfill that is so cheap, right? I think you know.
Yes.
Only in Queensland just started last year, the $70 per ton. But before that, what happened? New South Wales had like 160 tons per ton of material for sending them. So they used to move the material from New South Wales across the border to Queensland because it was cheap here or nothing, no levy at all.
And hence Ipswich has got this unenviable reputation of being a dump capital.
Yeah, that's what. So that's what happens. So then you end up with all this waste coming up from everywhere to Queensland, and then your greenhouse gas emissions from that landfill will be quite much because you don't even do proper landfill management.
If I can come back to the proposed Ipswich plant, the community opposition appears to be building, and of course there's complaints about odours. I mentioned the toxic people, and they're saying that people will have problems if they already have respiratory problems. It will affect house and land values. What's been the experience in Europe?
I can say that, let's say maybe 30 years ago, that was everywhere. I'm not saying that because the technology was not that advanced that time, right? So people living around those waste-to-energy plants, because of the growing population, right? Even though the plant is at the outskirts of the city, but then as the population is growing and suburbs are getting expanded, so you end up with someone living very near to the landfill or waste energy. So you used to have these issues, especially the dioxin. So in Germany, they have shut down a couple of waste energy plants, to be honest, just because of this issue.
And that's because they were old?
Yeah, because of the old tech,
Yep.
So, but now, I think nowadays there's quite much advanced. Like if you take the Singapore now, Singapore has just only one landfill and they are building now a waste energy plant, which is the most advanced technology, and that is being, I think, built by our Australian ACOM as is the main consultant.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine that Singapore is very, very strict in terms of environmental impact and human health impact from any of activities they are doing. So they have a landfill that is like a small floating island in the water, and that is also filling up. So they have no other choice, but they have to burn their waste, and that's why they have shifted to waste energy plant. And that is the most advanced waste energy plant. And then you will not expect, or if everything goes well, you will not see any kind of issues on the environment or human health.
Well, once the rubbish is burned in these advanced plants, is there anything left to dispose of? And if there is, where does it go?
Yeah, so you will end up with a small amount. That's what I'm saying. It will be like maybe less than 5% of the waste, and that will be going to the landfill, and that you have to dispose it safely in the landfill.
Can a waste-to-energy plant be compared to any other industries in terms of its impacts on the environment?
I mean, we can compare to a coal fire. It's the same. You have same burnings, but it's just that the waste, you don't have this what you call the inorganic compounds in a coal, right? So you have just pure carbon, and sulfur, and then they become sulfur dioxide and carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide in a coal. And then we produce soot also, right? And particulate matter. Mm-hmm. So these are the major kind of environmental point of view. For the waste energy, you have a little bit high amount of artificial compounds, and that is why this carcinogenic, and that's the dioxin. Dioxin is not it's not a chemical that can be made. It happens only during this waste to energy process, and that has a huge impact on the people. So particulate matter, oxides of nitrogen, then sulfur dioxide, all these are the major issues in terms of the waste to energy plant. And then you get the end solid material that is, you burn material, and that has to be disposed safely in a landfill.
Prasad, is there anything you could summarise to finish our chat that would allay people's fears about emissions coming from a modern waste to energy plant with the strongest emission controls?
We have seen that nowadays these modern waste to energy plants, they are able to operate well below the emission standards set by their own country, or even so most of the European waste to energy plants, they are actually operating to meet the European standards, even much better than what the European standards are set in. So it's quite it's not that kind of issue, but it's just that, I don't know, I can't watch what every waste energy plant can be operated like that, but most of the waste energy plants in Europe, they have to strictly abide with the emission requirements, and they are able to do that.
Now, the EU has very high standards on most manufacturing and is often looked to as a global leader. Are they a global leader with waste to energy?
Yes, I would say that, yes. EU is the global leader. Even though they have the highest recycling rate, but they're still looking at this waste to energy. So as a waste management aspect, right? So you can see that so they are having really good recycling, and still they have the waste to energy. So 81% is recycled, as I said, and then you have just less than 5% going to the landfill, and then maybe 15% is incinerated to make energy. So this is the numbers. Now I got it correct. So 80% is recycled, 15% you can see that it is kind of going to waste energy plant, and then remaining 5% is the waste that is going to landfill. So my only concern is that the Australian waste energy, our Australian government should think of that it is not scavenging over the recycling, right? We should not destroy the recycling industry.
Associate Professor Prasad Kaparaju from Griffith University, thanks so much for your time today, and thank you for talking with Ipswich Today.
Thank you, Ellen. See you then. Bye.
Ipswich Today is supported by Kinetics, people-powered web hosting trusted by Australian businesses since 1999. You can subscribe for free and share this podcast from your favourite app, including iHeartRadio, or play Ipswich Today from your smart speaker. Suggestions are welcome for future interviews and topics. Just go to the Ipswich Today website or Facebook page and leave a message. Music is supplied by Purple Planet Music. This is Alan Roebuck. Thanks for listening.